Did you know that there was a Super Cup even before the UEFA Super Cup we know today? And guess what? Unlike today, where clubs benefit from the proceeds, all the money from this match went straight to charity. In today's video, we're diving deep into the rich history of the Community Shield. We'll explore its origins and evolution, and then shift our focus to the epic clash between Manchester United and Manchester City. Will Manchester United take advantage of their new signings to dominate once again, or will Manchester City seek revenge on the red side of Manchester?
But first of all, congratulate you Man United for the win the FA Cup.
But before we do that, did you know that if a Community Shield match ended in a draw, both teams would share the trophy? Crazy, right? Well, imagine that happening in football today. Now let's dive back into the video and discover how the Community Shield came to be. In the late 1800s, football's growing in England, and people are starting to think, hey, how can we make this game even more interesting and, give something back to the community? Well, this idea was presented to a man named Sir Thomas Dewar, who was the Sheriff of London at that time. The idea of pitting the best professional side and amateur side against each other, with proceeds going to charity, resonated well with Dewar, and this led to the Sheriff of London Charity Shield being born. The first match played was between Corinthians and Sheffield United in Crystal Palace, London, which ended goalless, but went on to have a replay 16 days later, and this ended 1-1. The competition, in its first incarnation, had a good run for 9 years, but like all good things, it came to an end. Why, you ask? Well, it's a classic tale of dominance and division. The professional teams were just too good, and a rift in the Football Association led to the birth of the Amateur Football Association. So after Newcastle United claimed victory in the 1907 edition, the Shield got a makeover and was now called FA Charity Shield, and was inaugurated in 1908. And instead of pitting the best amateur side against the pros, the new format had the Football League winner go head-to-head with the Southern Football League champ. Later, they mixed things up by throwing the FA Cup winner into the ring. The competition evolved, and football fans were in for a treat. The first match under this new banner saw Manchester United take on Queen's Park Rangers. And guess what? It was a thriller. They drew 1-1, and there wasn't a replay. Instead, they settled it with a rematch in April 1909, which United won 4-0. I mean, how classic is that? But how did the competition turn from that to what we know now? The evolution of the FA Cup. Let's take a trip back in time and dive into the fascinating journey of the Community Shield, which started in the 1920s with flapper dresses and jazz music. Football was still growing in popularity. The Charity Shield was still starting to find its feet. And this time, it wasn't just about the league's champions, it also included the top amateur teams. One standout match from this era was the 1923 clash between professional and amateurs. A thrilling 2-0 victory for professional, with Bradford from Birmingham and Chambers from Liverpool scoring the two decisive goals. In the 30s and the 40s, the Shield matches were becoming more significant, but the world was changing, and so was football. The Shield match symbolises the resilience and unity of the nation, especially during the turbulent war years. Can you imagine the excitement when in 1930 Arsenal faced Sheffield Wednesday and triumphed 2-1 thanks to goals from Jack Lambert and David Jack? But it wasn't all smooth sailing. World War II halted the competition for a few years, but football, like life, found a way to bounce back. And with post-war Britain rebuilding, the Charity Shield returned stronger than ever. The 1948 clash between Arsenal and Manchester United is a prime example, with Arsenal edging out United 4-3 in the match. Goals from Jones, Reg Lewis and Ronnie Rupp for Arsenal, and Jack Rowley's and Burke's goals for United kept fans on the edge of their seats. But now came the golden age of football, which was the 1950s. In the 1950s, the Shield matches now featured the league champions against the FA Cup winners, a format that still holds to this day. This decade gave us some iconic moments. For instance, in 1957, Manchester United's Busby Babes showcased their youthful brilliance against Aston Villa, winning 4-0. Tommy Taylor and Johnny Berry were among the stars, with Taylor scoring a hat-trick. As we grooved into the 1960s, the influence of television began to shine. Football was becoming a household event, and the Charity Shield was right at the heart of it. One memorable clash was in 1961, when Tottenham Hotspur, fresh from their double winning season where they won both the First Division and the FA Cup, competed against a representative side that played under the banner of the FA. Spurs ran riot, securing a 3-2 victory with goals from Les Allen and Smith. This game wasn't just a win for Spurs, it was a testament to the evolution of football. The Charity Shield was no longer just a charitable exhibition, it had become a fiercely competitive match that set the tone for the season ahead. And with television bringing these thrilling moments into living rooms across the country, the popularity of the Charity Shield, and football in general, soared to new heights. The 1970s came, and this is when we could say things turned for the Shield and football. Colour TV was introduced, and this made England football fans get easy access to watching crazy moments in the Charity Shield, like when Liverpool faced Leeds, which ended in a 1-1 draw, with Liverpool's Phil Boersma and Leeds' Billy Bremer scoring and leading them to a shared title. Liverpool went on to win the match on penalties, which was a great feeling for the Liverpool fans, but many England fans would remember this match for its intensity and the infamous pitch scuffle between Bremner and Kevin Keegan. The modern era. Fast forward to the modern era, and the Charity Shield has transformed, evolving into what we now know as the Community Shield. The 1980s brought a new level of competitiveness and showcased some incredible talent. One standout match from this decade was the 1983 clash between Liverpool and Manchester United. Manchester United triumphed 2-0 with 2 goals from Robson, and as we moved into the 1990s, the Premier League era began, bringing a new wave of excitement to the Community Shield. The 1996 showdown between Manchester United and Newcastle United is a prime example. United secured a 4-0 victory, with Eric Cantona, Nicky Butt, David Beckham and Roy Keane all finding the net, setting the tone for a thrilling season ahead. The new millennium brought further evolution, and the rebranding of the competition to the Community Shield in 2002 didn't diminish its allure. One unforgettable match was the 2004 clash between Arsenal and Manchester United. Arsenal emerged victorious with a 3-1 win, thanks to goals from Gilberto Silva, Jose Antonio Reyes and a stunning strike from Silvestre. In the 2010s, the competition continued to thrill. A standout match of this decade was the 2012 face-off between Manchester City and Chelsea, where City triumphed 3-2, with goals from Yaya Toure, Carlos Tevez and Samir Nasri. The 2010 decade saw a lot of thrilling matches, but the 2020 decade is experiencing some of the surprising matchups. The 2020s have been a wild ride. The pandemic turned everything upside down, but football found a way to carry on. The Community Shield was like a beacon of hope, showing us that the game would persevere. In 2020, Liverpool, fresh from their Premier League win, faced Arsenal, the FA Cup champs. Wembley was empty, but the tension was off the charts. Aubameyang was on fire, scoring a beauty to put Arsenal ahead. Liverpool equalised through Minamino, taking us to a nail-biting penalty shootout. Arsenal held their nerve, and Aubameyang sealed the deal. Next up, 2021, where Leicester City against Manchester City. Leicester had been riding high since their fairy tale Premier League win in 2016 and their recent FA Cup win, and this match was a perfect showcase of their grit. It was a tight game, but in the dying minutes, Kelechi Iheanacho, facing his old club, slotted home a penalty to give Leicester the win. Drama galore. It was a massive statement from Leicester, proving they're not just a one-hit wonder. Then we roll into 2022. Liverpool versus Manchester City, the heavyweights of English football. They played at King Power Stadium because Wembley was hosting the Women's Euros. Trent Alexander-Arnold opened the scoring with a classic strike, and though City equalised through their new guy Julian Alvarez, Liverpool wasn't done. Salah nailed a penalty and Darwin Núñez finished it off. A 3-1 win for Liverpool, the perfect teaser for the epic battles that would follow all season long. And here we are, 2023. City had just backed a historic treble. Premier League, FA Cup and Champions League. They were on top of the world. Their opponents, Arsenal again, this time as Premier League runners-up. The game was intense. Cole Palmer did what he does best, scoring a screamer. But Arsenal's Trossard, that kid's got ice in his veins, equalised late on. Penalties again, and this time Arsenal came out on top. What a way to kick off the season, right? Each match had its own story, drama, and heroes. It's been a period of resilience, resurgence, and fierce competition, and now this year's Community Shield promises to be another thrilling chapter, as it's set to be a Manchester derby. Get ready, because this one is going to be epic. Manchester United versus Manchester City. History is about to be made at the 2024 Community Shield, where either Manchester United or Manchester City could lift their first trophy of the season. The 102nd FA Community Shield is set up thanks to Manchester City winning the Premier League after a thrilling season, despite fierce competition from teams like Arsenal. And let's not forget about Manchester United, who bounced back from a disappointing season to clinch the FA Cup. When it comes to the Community Shield, Manchester United reigns supreme. With a whopping 21 titles from 30 appearances, they're the undisputed kings of the competition. Sure, those numbers include 4 shared titles back in 65, 67, 77 and 90, but hey, a win's a win, right? Their most recent triumph? That was in 2016. On the other side of town, we have Manchester City, the noisy neighbours who've made quite a name for themselves recently. City has stepped up to the Community Shield plate 15 times and walked away with 6 titles. Their latest victory was in 2019. Now here's where it gets interesting. Their last 3 appearances all ended in defeats. Ouch. The last team to endure such a streak of Community Shield heartache, none other than United themselves, back in 2001 when they set a competition record with their 4th consecutive loss. The last time these two Manchester Giants met, it was a fight to the finish that saw an incredible comeback. City fans were buzzing after their recent FA Cup victory, while United had just claimed their record 19th league title. City drew first blood with Joleon Lescott and Edin Dzeko scoring 2 goals in the first half, but United fought back. Nani scored twice and Chris Smalling added another, leading United to a thrilling Community Shield victory. As these two giants clash once more, the stage is set for a showdown of epic proportions. Will United extend their lead in Community Shield glory, or will City break their losing streak and claim victory? Only time will tell, but one thing's for sure, this match is going to be a nail-biter. United has bolstered their squad with new signings like Lenny Yoro and Joshua Zirkzee, ready to build on their recent 2-0 win over City. But don't count City out just yet. With their new signings and Edison between the sticks, the blue side of Manchester might have something special in store for United. And there you have it, the untold history of the Community Shield, from its humble beginnings in the late 1800s to the thrilling high-stakes matches of today. As we look forward to this year's clash between Manchester United and Manchester City, the stage is set for another unforgettable chapter in the Shield's storied history. Will United continue their dominance, or will City break their streak and claim victory? Leave your thoughts in the comments section. If you enjoyed the video, why don't you check out our last video and our video on the last 10 Euro winners?